You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
And welcome to Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yue.
And I'm Rira Yu.
And we are here for our last mid-month book news check-in for 2023. As always, the Books and Boba book club is supported by you, our listeners, at patreon.com/booksandboba, where our Patreon subscribers have access to our members-only Discord server, as well as our monthly bonus podcast, Boba Chats. So if you'd like to become more involved with our book club, please head on over and support us on Patreon. We really appreciate everyone who has supported us so far. Rira, happy holidays.
Yeah, we have about 2 more weeks left until the end of 2023. And wow, it's been a year.
It's been a year, man. It's been a week. We'll touch on that later on in our book news segment. But man, book Twitter, book internet is aflutter with all the tea right now. And
I thought we ran out of tea. Like I thought we were done with this year, but somehow book Twitter got revived. And I'm like, okay, I guess this episode is going to have some hot tea. Okay.
Yeah. As always, every month we go over the latest Asian American related publishing and book news, starting off with the latest publishing announcements that Rira compiles through Publishers Weekly and other sources. So yeah, let's get into it so we can get to the tea. Rira, why don't you give us the first book deal of the episode?
All right, so our first book deal is at an auction. Park Row Books landed North American rights to Saumya Deve's The Guilt Pill. The novel is a high-concept speculative women's fiction that follows a CEO on maternity leave who becomes addicted to a supplement that erases female guilt. Guilt Pill is set for early 2025, and Saumya Dave is a psychiatrist and frequent mental health contributor to NBC News. She's also the author of What a Happy Family, which was the July pick for the Good Housekeeping Book Club. So... wow, yeah. This reminds me a lot of Natural Beauty.
A little bit, right? Although I feel like if you had the opportunity to erase all of your female guilt, would you take that?
I don't know. I thrive on my anger. So I guess guilt and anger are kind of, intertwined together. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, society does place a lot of expectations on women to be, maternal, to be supportive, to give up a lot in order to support, the men in their lives. So, I mean, I guess I can see how someone can be addicted if they just didn't have to care about what society wants from them, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the CEO is a single mother, but it could also just be like, okay, like the stigma of single mothers, and just like, okay, like, am I a good mom for wanting to have a career and also like wanting to be a mom? Is it something that, I should give up to have a better future for my child? So there is a lot of guilt when it becomes when it comes to becoming a mother. So I think this is a very expansive topic that can go, that has a lot of legs.
Yeah, lots of interesting themes to explore for sure. So yeah, congratulations to Saumya. Next up, Scholastic acquired world rights to Nice to Eat You by Karen Yin and illustrated by Carolina Coroa. And in the title, meat is crossed out and replaced with eat. So that's the visual. The Hansel and Gretel inspired Halloween picture book is about a sneaky witch who lures a group of children to her house. The witch's verbal gaffes keep the children on their toes as they try to figure out if the witch has their best interests at heart or if they're the meal. Cindy Kimmel edit. Publication is set for summer 2025. This sounds cute.
It sounds terrifying.
But I do love the Amelia Bedelia-esque witch here that's like incompetent in her luring children. I think it's I find that tickles me.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the witch gets the kids into their house during Halloween.
Obviously candy.
No, but like I feel like kids are taught these days to never go inside a stranger's home, and a lot of trick-or-treat people like they are outside of their house giving out candy. They're not like waiting for the door to be rung.
But what if she's offering them full candy bars? Right?
I would be like, lady, give it to me. Like, why do I have to go inside your house?
Well, now we know that Riri will never be tricked by a witch on Halloween.
Maybe it's because when I was younger, like my parents would like tell me kidnapping stories. So I'm a little
Asian parenting 101.
Yeah, Asian parenting 101. It's like, what do you mean you're going into a stranger's house? Like, are you stupid? At least bring a gift with you. Yeah. All right, moving on. Our next book deal is Abrams acquired world rights to Cookies and Crescents, an Eid story by Nada Shawish Dutka and illustrated by Zelma Firdauzia. After moving away from her bustling city and large extended family, a girl discovers that while her Eid traditions may look a little different in a new home, it's the community you create that matters. Publication is slated for spring 2025.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very relatable like occurrence for a lot of immigrant families and communities. Trying to celebrate our heritage festivals and holidays, but having to deal with the local produce and selection.
Yeah, and also like I'm just rereading the summary again. I'm like moving away from her bustling city and large extended family. So this means that they are moving to a non-ethnically like not heavy populated by Muslims. So I'm like, yeah, being the only one in your town can be a bummer.
Yeah, well, congrats to Nada and Zelma on their book deal. Next up, Knopf bought world rights in a 6-figure deal and a 6-house auction to Bing's Cherries by Livia Blackburne and illustrated by Julia Kuo. The picture book weaves a tall tale out of historical facts about Bing, a Chinese immigrant to the U.S. who is the namesake for the Pacific Northwest's most delicious cherries. Publication is slated for spring 2026. 6-figure deal for a picture book. That feels like it's up there, right?
Yeah. Cherries too. It's not a story that I expected to have a 6-figure deal.
I mean, get that bag. Like, congratulations on the windfall.
I know Livia Blackburne is a pretty well-known author. I think we've featured her a couple of times in our book deals, in our past book deals episodes. She is the author of Feather and Flame and Clementine and Danny Save the World. And this sounds like a very cute picture book.
Yeah, I just did a quick Wikipedia search, and it's the most widely produced variety of sweet cherry in the United States. So this man is responsible for, I guess, most of the cherries we've eaten here in the United States.
Are you a cherry person?
I do enjoy cherry, yes.
I am not a cherry person. Maybe it's because I don't really like fruits where I have to spit out any kind of pit.
Oh, see, I don't mind that. Although they do have pitless cherries, just for you.
They do. Yeah, they do. For babies like me who do not like to spit out pits.
Yeah.
All right, our next book deal is Eighth Note Press bought the debut YA novel To Have and Have More by New York Magazine staff writer Sanibel Chai in one of TikTok's first book acquisitions. Pitched for readers of The Summer I Turned Pretty and K.L. Walther's The Summer of Broken Rules, it is an exploration of entitlement, friendship, and identity that follows the journey of a Korean girl adopted into a wealthy white family as she grapples with her place in a world of casual racism and white privilege. Publication is set for fall/winter 2024.
Yeah, so I just did a quick Google search on this too, and it looks like Eighth Note Press is the publishing arm of TikTok's parent company. So I guess it's kind of like vertical integration, right? Because I know Book Talk is like a big segment on TikTok too, even though I personally am not a part of that. But
yeah, I mean, there was an interesting article not that long ago about TikTok making the publishing industry into like fast fashion. It's been a very like interesting conversation I've seen on Book Talk itself, because there's so many books, especially YA books, that have been just getting a lot of hype somehow, and then they get published really quickly to the point where there's a lot of mistakes and the authors don't have enough time to write the sequel. So it's been a very interesting conversation. And I wonder if Eighth Note Press will address any of those issues that book talkers have talked about at length.
Yeah, but it definitely sounds like the type of book that the book talkers would be super into, right? I know that Somewhere I Turned Pretty is that's a pretty big fandom in the book internet world, right?
Yeah, but I wonder if this book is, I guess like geared towards TikTok, because it's not really a romance novel. It's not YA fantasy. And those are the two genres that do really well. And this sounds like a very, this sounds like a book that is going to dive into a lot of serious topics like casual racism and white privilege. They're very insidious, subtle topics. So you have to be very skillful at writing those nuances. And it makes sense that, it's written by a New York Magazine staff writer.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that Sanibel has the writing chops to do this.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good sign that like the TikTok book publisher is willing to touch on or willing to take on projects that touch on these like very, very touchy subjects, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so congrats to Sanibel on her book deal. Next up, Harper bought world rights to Princess Bulldog, a chapter book trilogy written by Lovi Goyal and illustrated by Stephanie Laberis, about a flying bulldog princess, her friends, and their magical adventures protecting the Friendship Fountain and all of pupdom. The first book, Princess Power Trip, is set for summer 2026. This just sounds like
sounds very cute. Yeah, it sounds very cute.
I do enjoy a bulldog. They're like cute in a not cute kind of way, which makes them even cuter, I feel like.
Yeah, some of them look sad all the time, and
but some look really happy all the time too.
Yeah, some look happy all the time.
Just depends on what kind of pup you get. But it sounds like a really cute book. I think there's not much to read into here besides it's a magical bulldog with her bulldog friends.
Yeah, I'm just imagining a bulldog in like a princess tiara and a tutu, like those pet owners who dress up their dogs.
Yeah,
that's what I'm envisioning right now. All right, our last book deal is Harper Teen acquired YA author Sunya Mara's Embrace the Serpent, a romantic fantasy inspired by Indian folklore of Naga, in which a young jeweler's apprentice enters into a marriage of convenience with a feared serpent lord whose heart has been replaced with stone. Publication is slated for summer 2025.
Oh, so like little shades of Beauty and the Beast here.
Beauty and the Beast, yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, and I'm familiar that Naga are like snake spirits. I don't think I realized they were from Indian folklore because I think, as consumers of fantasy in the United States, a lot of Asian folklore gets conflated into one thing. But it's really cool to, again, always cool to see specific aspects of Asian folklore being explored on.
Yeah, and I do love the trope of marriage of convenience.
That's true. It's among your favorite tropes.
Yes.
Yeah, this sounds like a really cool spin on a familiar romance type of story, but injected with some Indian folklore and culture. So excited to see how everything turns out. Yeah, but those are our last book deals for 2023. And as always, if we miss anything, please let us know on either Goodreads or our Discord server. But moving on to the main event, our book news. And these past few weeks, there's only been one story that we cared about.
Yeah, before we dive into that one story, DV Pitt announced its indefinite hiatus, and they posted earlier this week saying, "We've seen so many successes and breakthroughs, even as the industry itself was slow to catch up, and it still is. But all around us, the community has been fighting back with more of our voices rising up and demanding to be heard. But the last 8 years have also been very hard. I have fed endless hours into keeping the event going at the expense of my mental health. Recently, we lost our original platform and worked so hard to find the right replacement and to build a space that could sustain the community. Our last DV Pit was amazing, although not without hiccups. Feedback has always been important to us, and we want to listen carefully. And as the social media and AI continue to mutate and change how we connect and share ideas in this time of uncertainty, we have decided to put DV Pit on an indefinite hiatus. This pause will allow us to reevaluate the needs of the community and our role in it from a renewed perspective and take stock of recent events so we can reimagine what's possible in the future and to make way for fresh minds to bring forth ideas. The work is not done. And this was written by founder Beth Phelan. And DV Pit has been around for a very long time, like the statement says, 8 years. Some of the authors that we have talked to on this show and also books that we have featured in past book news episodes, like Kumio by Kat Cho, Zain Shukadar, Map of Salt and Stars, Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. So a lot of Asian American writers have gotten their foot in the door in publishing through DV Pit. So it is sad that there is a hiatus, but hiatus does not mean an end.
Yeah, definitely some bummer news. In the midst of a lot of bummer news in all industries right now, like a lot of people getting laid off, a lot of people feeling the hit of just the economy still slowing down and people not realizing how to better use their money. And, workers paying the price of, executives who don't know how to spend their money right or on the right things.
Yeah, I mean, Books and Boba, we've been around since late 2016. So we haven't been alive as long as DV Pit. DV Pit is about a year older than us. I can definitely understand like the burnout and also the struggle to keep the momentum going, especially when, there has been a lot of change in terms of diversity in the industry, but we've had a lot of it's like 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back. Constantly, it is like this dance that we do as BIPOC creators in the bookish community. So I hope that the DV Pit team can come back with a renewed purpose and refreshed because they have done great work. And I hope that they get the rest that they need.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more diverse authors being published by like the big publishing companies than ever before, but there's still a drop in the bucket. And, DV Pit has always been a place where anyone can pitch their books and get traction, right? So it does feel like a loss for the community, but I feel like they did leave it stronger than they found it. And, hopefully the next iteration will continue that work or whoever takes over for this work.
Yeah, especially since a lot of authors have found success through DV Pit. I'm guessing that it has shown editors and agents that, stories by Asian American authors, they sell. So it won't be as difficult to query in the future in the traditional method. We can only hope. Yeah,
well, as someone who has done community work for a large portion of his life, I do relate to the burnout. It definitely, sometimes you got to take a break to take stock in what's important and what you can do as a person to continue, fighting the good fight. So I guess, congrats, goodbye. We're sad to see you go, but we're happy to see what's next.
Yes.
All right. Now it's time for the tea.
Now it's time for the hot piping tea.
Rira, you've been following the story much more closely than I have, but I've been keeping up with the updates that you've been leaving on our Discord server. So I get the general gist of what happened. But can you please tell us what's been taking book Twitter by storm the last few days?
Okay, so I'm going to give credit to Alyssa Shotwell of marysue.com for recapping this much better than I ever will on this show. And we'll leave a link in the show notes so that if there's anything that I missed, you guys can go read that article. But the gist of it is debut author Kate Corain, who is the author of Crown of Starlight, she was exposed of review bombing a slew of 2024 debut titles, and many of them were written by BIPOC authors. And for months, several authors kind of noticed that the same 9 or so Goodreads accounts were giving 1-star reviews to early 2024 releases, while giving 5-star reviews and upvotes on Listopias for Kate's book. So the review bombing goes back as early as February of 2023, and it just started to, become more noticeable. And a lot of authors in a private Slack, they've been sharing their concerns, and pretty much it all came to a head on December 5th when Shiran J. Zhao, the author of Iron Widow, subtweeted about the review bomber. And it sparked a lot of public curiosity. A lot of people who haven't been active on book Twitter came back and was like, what's going on?
I feel like Shiran knew exactly what they were doing. I mean, they did the whole, this blew up, but I don't know. I feel like you don't subtweet something, you don't drop a bomb like that without expecting it to blow up, right?
Okay, but so December 5th, Shiran J. Zhao, says, hey, stop. If you want this to be a secret, stop being so obvious about, the review bombing and who you are. Like, if you just look at the data, we can find out who you are. And on a private Slack for 2024 debut authors, Corain said her friend Lily, quote unquote, from the Reylo fandom, Reylo as in Rey and
Kylo Ren, yes.
Ren.
The most degenerate of fandoms in Star Wars.
But they have written great books out of Reylo fanfic, I will say. Like, they have some fantastic writers in that fandom. But Kate Corain said that her friend Lily from the Reylo fandom was responsible for the review bombing and provided screenshots of the conversation. And let me just say, the conversation is freaking nuts. It is like it is the most dramatic script that I have seen in a long time in terms of bookish content. And people were saying,
yeah, you could definitely hear the pearls being clutched in this very dramatic transcript between Kate and Lily, a conversation that apparently took place across time and space as well, because the time codes did not match up.
Yeah, people were accusing of Lily not being real and this chat being photoshopped because the inconsistent time codes. And just reading the dialogue, it is nuts. So a lot of people were like, that's sus. And on the morning of December 6th, Bethany Baptiste tweeted, debuts have to deal with an albino snake in a hen house. And albino snake in this context means a deceptive white person. It is an AAVE term, kind of like snake in the grass, And Meredith Mooring, an author with albinism and a friend of Kate Corain, accused Bethany of referring to her with an ableist slur because Meredith is albino. And, she publicly tweeted this despite Bethany's tweet being posted way early. And it was before anyone knew or suspected that Kate Corain was the review bomber. And it was before Kate had come on Slack to say, hey, my friend Lily is the one who's been doing this. So as a result, Bethany Baptiste got a lot of flack, a lot of hate comments from the minions of one right-wing author. And I was like, that is... It was rough seeing a lot of the hate being directed at her, especially since Bethany was at a funeral mourning someone. So this was the last thing that she freaking needed. And as a response to the dogpiling of Bethany, Shiran tweeted a public 31-page Google Doc containing screenshots of Kate's review bombing. So this is when the subtweet went direct.
Yeah, no longer sub.
No longer sub.
Now just a full-blown tweet.
Yeah, I was so surprised that it was a 31-page document. I did not expect something so meticulous.
Yeah, and as a result, she's been dropped by her publisher, her agent, from all deals. And it just seems like such a magnificent self-implosion that's it's like when real life is stranger than fiction, right? Because R.F. Kuang's Yellowfish just came out earlier this year, and by all accounts, she didn't need to do this, right? Like her book was being well received. She was on track for making a ton of money. And like there was no like there was nothing to gain from like trashing other people's books.
Yeah, it's really funny that you bring Yellowface because Kate Corain, in one of her ratings, one of the books that she rated was Yellowface, and she gave it 5 stars. And it's just hilarious to me that she read that book and thought, oh, yeah, a white person pretending to be an Asian person. That sounds like something that I can do. It sounds cool because one of the aliases that she came up with for her burner accounts was Oh Se-young, who is a very well-known Korean actress. And she was using ethnic names, like names that sound like BIPOC, like real BIPOC people, like Chantal, to review books by BIPOC authors. And it's really sucky because a lot of these authors are, debut authors. This is their first book that they're coming out with. And also, they were her agent's siblings. So they had the same agent. And some of them had the same imprint as well. So I'm like, why are you sabotaging your peers? That is a new level of despicable actions.
Yeah, and the other part of this is just how important those Goodreads scores are, right? Like Goodreads, for better or worse, is probably a huge part of how some people make their purchase decisions because it's the most easily searchable database for book reviews.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about Goodreads, I feel like 10 years ago, it was a pretty good system because it was for specifically readers. But then publishing professionals came into the scene, and now everything is about marketing, and there are books on there that haven't been published or haven't been written, and there are people who are rating it. And of course, there's like the issue of trolls, like mass review bombing authors. And a lot of the times those are authors from marginalized communities. So this is a whole different discussion about Goodreads and how they need to like rehaul their entire system.
Yeah, but like creating fake Goodreads accounts to review bomb your peers, it's real unhinged like behavior that like I feel like it's only possible for people that are like chronically online, right?
I'm just really shocked that she would go this far, like one of the comments that she left was, I can't believe Del Rey spent $500,000 on this when they could have spent $500,000 on anything else. Sorry, not sorry. And this was a review on Molly X. Chang's book, To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods. And I'm like,
yeah,
what the hell do you know how much money they made from the book deal? That's not something that normal reviewers know on the back of their heads.
Yeah, this is coming from someone who also made more than $500,000 on their book deal as well, right?
Yeah, and she didn't just go after her traditionally published authors. She also went after indie authors. She went after a Black indie author named R.M. Virtues, and solely because RM came out with Greek mythology inspired stories, because her book is also Greek mythology inspired. So it's just like, oh, so one person or a couple of people have the same, like, roughly same idea as you, and you decide to go after them because you're so insecure about your book sales.
I mean, she obviously takes gatekeeping very, very seriously.
Yeah. But moving on to a timeline. So all of this happened on December 5th, December 6th. On December 8th, Bethany Baptiste, who was the target of all the hate comments after it was revealed that Kate Corain was the review bomber, she dropped a whopping 62 tweet thread with very detailed receipts and screenshots. And I highly recommend people to go check it out because it is, I don't know, it is just chef's kiss in terms of like, here are my receipts. Like, it was very much Phoenix Wright. And it's really sad that a lot of the emotional labor went into a lot of the emotional labor of this controversy went to authors of color like Sharon Jade Chow and Bethany Baptiste, because why should they prove to other people that this person was sabotaging their peers' careers? Shouldn't like Kate be, proving that she didn't? Like it's a whole can of different worms. But a couple days later, December 11th, Kate's agent, Rebecca Podos, announced the end of their partnership with Kate. And shortly after, Illumicrate canceled their May subscription box for Crown of Starlight. And then on the same day, Del Rey, the publisher, announced that Crown of Starlight was no longer on their 2024 calendar. Now, this made people kind of suspect that Del Rey would publish Crown of Starlight later, like 2027, because some people saw it on like the Barnes & Noble site saying like it's going to be published in 2027. But on December 12th, Del Rey confirmed that they will no longer publish Kate's book. Like, Kate had a 2-book deal, and they are not publishing either of them.
Wow.
And on that day, on December 12th, shortly after, Kate Corain unprivated her Twitter account and tweeted a 2-page letter apology, admitting to being behind the Goodreads account review bombing and faking the conversation as Lily. And I think one of the funny aspects of this horrible experience is the fact that the Reylo fandom came with their receipts, and they were like, we do not know this Lily. We are a tight-knit community. This is not someone that we recognize. Yeah, like, thanks for trying to pin this on us fangirl authors. You're welcome. So
yeah, it's just such a wild, and like it's so inconceivable, the thought process that would go into creating such an elaborate scheme to ultimately do nothing but destroy yourself. I mean, this is the type of things people read books about, right?
Yeah. So in her 2-page apology, which is on a Word doc double spaced, and I think that is a level of like, I'm just like, what happened to the notes app? It's like all she's missing is like an APA like citation page. But in like the first paragraph of her apology, she says, since June 2022, I've been fighting a losing battle against depression, alcoholism, and substance abuse, the full scope of which I've hidden from everyone in my life out of shame and a misguided belief that with the right medicine or enough therapy, I could beat it. Now, this, as me, as a mentally ill person who struggles with depression and anxiety and has had bad reactions to switching medications, I'm like, we do not blame our mental illnesses on like for being racist. Okay, that just does not happen, at least in my personal experience. And she goes on to say in late November 2023, I started a new medication, and on December 2nd, 2023, I suffered a complete psychological breakdown. During this time, I created roughly 6 profiles on Goodreads, and along with 2 profiles I made during a similar but shorter breakdown in 2022. And she goes on to say, I boosted the rating of my book while bombing other authors. And this is the part that got a lot of people pissed. She goes on to say 2 of those authors, Molly X. Chang and Danielle Jensen, are fellow Del Rey authors. Kamilah Cole and Bethany Baptiste just happened to be on the wrong Goodreads list at the wrong time. Girl, they were not on the wrong Goodreads list at the wrong time. You were just being racist. Like, you were insecure, and you thought it was okay to go after authors of color who happen to have books coming out at the same time as you. It's really sucky because, I feel like as a writer, you rely on your community, like that is how you build relationships and keep your career going in the future. So, and it's also like heartbreaking to think about how she was in this private Slack with these authors, And these authors are sharing their vulnerabilities. You know, they're going through a lot of shit when they're writing their books. I'm sure they've shared some really personal things. And she just goes behind their backs and tries to sabotage their careers. It's a level of, you know,
it's villain behavior. It's something.
It is very villain behavior. And I get really annoyed as someone who has mental health issues whenever someone uses their mental health as a shield for really like terrible behavior. It's like it perpetuates stigma in our community, and it's just so gross.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes into a much more broader conversation on the stigma of mental health, mental illness, and the reason why people will think that by invoking it, you can get a pass. And that's not how any of this works, right? Like, it doesn't excuse the fact that, like, again, this is a very elaborate plan. Like,
let me just say, like, during psychological breakdowns, in my personal experience, it's hard to even get out of bed. Like, how did you create 9 freaking Goodreads burner accounts and wrote reviews? Like, literally wrote reviews, not just wrote reviews, and also organized lists on Goodreads. I'm like, that is a lot of effort that you have to expend. And to say that, like, because you were, you know, having a hard time with your mental health, like this is what happened. I'm like, I really don't believe that personally. And a lot of other authors think so too. And it's really like, if you think about how, let's say Kate Corain was an author of color, she would not be receiving the grace that she has been receiving the past 2 weeks. You know, like, she would not be having friends defending her. And also just like when authors of color and also from marginalized communities, when they go through mental health problems, like, they have to work through it. Like, they do not have the cushion to just be like, oh, I did this bad thing, so I guess blame it on my mental health. No, they don't get a pass at that. So it's really like a conversation that publishing should have when it comes to privilege. And also, I heard that Kate Corain is queer, and I've seen other queer authors who have been commenting on this controversy that they've noticed this pattern of white authors who happen to be queer to use their queerness as an excuse for bad behavior, malicious behavior. And it's like, okay, so it's a reminder that just because you are part of a marginalized community, there is white privilege to it. So there's been like some very fascinating conversations on Twitter about this. And this incident really taught me that Twitter is not dead. Book Twitter is not dead.
it just needed something to feast on.
Yeah.
Well,
although I feel so bad for the authors who were impacted by the review bombing. I mean, I'm not sure if it's going to have like long-term consequences because Kate Corain like deleted all of her accounts. So like the reviews are gone, the ratings are gone. So it's been like remeasured. And also like just reading her apology again, like there's no accountability that she is taking. And, you know, she says she's going to reach out to the impacted authors and apologize. But from what I have heard, there has been no apology sent. She said that she's going to a rehab facility and is going to go offline for a while. And I'm like, you know, again, like everybody goes through their own mental health struggles differently, but it does kind of read like she is just bailing on owning the problems that she sparked in the community. So,
well, I mean, she lost her big payday, so.
Yeah, like if she had just kept her racist thoughts and insecurities to herself, like she would have had an Illumicrate deal, which, you know, had a new cover to it. Like that is a very big deal. She could have had so much success. She had early favorable reviews. She's had like other authors give her blurbs. I just don't understand why you would feel so insecure and just feel so jealous of your peers like this. And I hate the fact that there's so many people who consider like creators of color to be their competition. And it's like, no, like it can be a community where we support each other and champion each other's works, but you've turned it into something really toxic. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll ever understand the reasons behind it, but the core reason I think we can understand, which is some people just don't like seeing other people succeed, even though they themselves are successful. And that is just, I think that is a pretty clear and concise like encapsulation of the systems that we see ourselves in, right? Which is equality only matters when it's equality for me.
Yeah. And also like I've been getting so annoyed at other media outlets who have been covering this controversy on Twitter because they're framing it as, oh, YA authors are, teaming up against this white author, or they'll be like, oh, book drama is happening because of YA authors. And I'm like, excuse me, Crown of Starlight is an adult novel. And I hate the fact that you're trying to pin this stereotype of YA authors and YA consumers to be immature, immature, like toxic fangirls, pretty much. It's just like, no.
Yeah, we still definitely have a long way to go to combat those stereotypes and stigmas. But at the very least, justice was served. And I mean, what I do hope is that the attention given to this whole controversy does shine a light on the authors that were affected. And that's enough to, overcome the Goodreads effect. But yeah, I guess with that, that'll do it for our last mid-month book news episode for 2023. As always, thank you for compiling all the book news for us to cover. I guess before we go, can you remind us what we are reading for book club for December 2023?
Yeah, for the month of December, we are reading Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. And it is part one of a duology where an ill-matched pair of spies posing as a married couple investigate a series of brutal murders in 1930s Shanghai.
Yeah, so if you're reading along with us or if you finished the book and have thoughts to share, as always, please let us know on our Goodreads or on our Discord if you're a Patreon subscriber. That way we can share your thoughts on our year-end book discussion episode as well. But with that, that'll do it for our episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Books and Boba. This podcast was hosted by Marvin Yue and Ri Ryu and edited and produced by Marvin Yue. Follow the book club on Twitter and Instagram by going to @BooksandBoba and engage with us on Goodreads on our Goodreads group. You can also check out past episodes of the podcast by going to booksandboba.com and by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget you can support Books and Boba and Asian American authors by purchasing books at our bookshop.org account. Check out the link in our show notes and also at booksandboba.com. Books and Boba is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of Asian American hosted podcasts featuring unique voices and stories from the Asian diaspora. Learn more about the collective and check out our fellow Potluck shows by visiting the website podcastpotluck.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I'm Phil Yu, and you may know me from a blog called Angry Asian Man.
And I'm Jeff Yang, author, journalist, and celebrity dad.
We host a podcast called They Call Us Bruce, an unfiltered conversation about what's happening in Asian America.
Each week or so, we host a discussion about some of the most vital and interesting topics in our pop culture and our community, bringing in guests who are shaping and informing this thing called Asian America from Hollywood to D.C. and beyond.
We got media, entertainment, food, family, politics, representation,
the good, the bad, the WTF of it all.
So check us out wherever you get your podcasts or at theycallusbruce.com.
Peace.
Peace.